Welcome and good morning, everybody, to the last day of our InnEdCO summer series. We're so glad that you are all joining us for another day. I think this has been a really special week for us to come together, especially after the challenging school year so many of us have had. I know InnEdCO has always been a place of refreshing myself and getting inspired for what's next. And I think I'm so glad we were able to come together and do that again. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us this week. It really means a lot to us.
Agreed. It's been a great week.
We would like to make sure that we thank our sponsor, Google, who has done so much to support us this week. They've helped us with this broadcast. They've helped provide folks with level 1 and level 2 certifications for a lot of our participants. We've been lucky enough to have several prize winners this week. So you've probably gotten something via email if your name was listed on those recaps with information on how you can get that level 1 or level 2 certification. So big shout out to Google for being our big sponsor this week. We would also like to thank Pear Deck and Hapara. For those of you who listen to the podcast, they are our two big sponsors for the podcast, and they've just been so supportive during this time, making sure that we are able to offer this event for free. Also, thank you to Camcore and ClassLink and Mackin, Nearpod, Overdrive, Promethean, Read Naturally, and Sphero, who have also contributed to this event this week. Speaking of the podcast, those of you who have subscribed, you'll see that we have all 3 episodes of Dr. Katie Martin's audio from her keynotes this week. So you can find those wherever you get wherever you get podcasts. We do have it hosted off of Anchor, but if you listen on Apple Podcasts or Overdrive or Spotify, you just can search We Are InnEdCO and you'll find that podcast there as well. We also really want to make sure that we are featuring teacher stories throughout the summer and as we head into fall. So if you have a story that you would like to share, please share that with us. We have an email address for you there. We are at innedco.org, where you can send us something via text, or you can record a voice message and send it to us that way. Or if you're a little old school and you want to just call and leave us a voice message, you can call that number 970-455-2520.
And, you know, it's really fortunate that you mentioned this, Maddie, just hopping in for a minute, because there were a number of comments on the YouTube stream asking, hey, I missed today. Where do I find the information? We're always pushing people to subscribe and become members, just like we mentioned here. The difference being that you can listen to the podcast for free. You'll get to hear all that wonderful Keynote business. And then when you subscribe to be a member, you get the keynotes and you get the slides.
Yeah, and that's going to include all of the sessions that we've had this week on top of those keynotes, right? So if you want to kind of go back, reflect, or see the other session that you didn't get to see, I know I, like Brandon, have a lot of FOMO around this. I want to see what the other session was like. So do sign up for that premium membership. And it does pay for itself in the aspect that you do get the discount off of next year's conference as well as any future events that we're hosting. So we know that it's a little bit unprecedented times right now, but we are hoping to find some ways to connect together throughout the year and not wait an entire summer before we see each other again. So
absolutely. Let's move that slide forward. Graduate credit. This is exciting. Maddie, tell us about this.
Yeah, so Adams State University, they're partnering with us to offer a graduate credit for this summer series. So you can get 1 semester hour. The cost is $55. I know there are a ton of districts where, you know, getting that graduate credit to move lanes or to continue your continuing ed credits to renew your license. All of those are great reasons to pursue that. So really think about if that is a good option for you and making sure you can make the most of this experience. I know Liz has made several great independent learning options to help complement this. So do make sure if that's something you're interested in, you check it out.
And we obviously have relicensure credit too, that you can find in the same place.
Yeah, so we do have some board openings that are coming up. Sadly, we are losing a couple of our board members, but we want to invite a lot of you who are looking to lead in this space, who want to kind of contribute your voice and shape of what comes next for InnEdCO. I think the field of education, everything is going to kind of be new, and we're going to be thinking outside of the box. So we would love to have you join us. I know this has been my first year on the board. I will say this is not the InnEdCO conference I was expecting, for sure, right? But it has been so great to kind of like see what goes on behind the scenes and think about really thoughtfully providing a community where people can get that inspiration they need to continue the innovative practices that we're all so passionate about. So it's such a great experience to be able to learn from everybody in this group. So I would encourage you, if you're thinking about it, to apply and join us in this work. I think it's really great.
And speaking of ways that you could get involved, we want to talk to you a little bit about chapters. We announced chapters as being a thing that was starting at our last InnEdCO when we were together back in those days. And now we want to talk about how you can be involved in that. So let's move on to the next slide. You may never have seen this or not, but InnEdCO as a nonprofit really exists to do three things. We want to inspire and sustain communities of innovative learners. We want to help tell the story of educational innovation, risk-taking, and problem-solving. And we really want to help educators to connect so that they can inspire each other's practices. We definitely just want educators to have this chance to be in community with each other and to learn from each other, because that's some of the best PD that's out there. Let's move on. And so we wanted to share with you just a couple of beliefs that we have about educators and classrooms going on. First, being that we really believe at our core as a nonprofit that all learners deserve to learn in innovative environments that build community, inspire curiosity, awaken those intellectual passions, and help our students develop relevant skills. We also believe that educators deserve communities that help them innovate within those constraints that are true for your local environments. What's true in one part of the state may not be true in another. We believe that all educators deserve the opportunity to work with people who help them to be inspired, to continue to improve their craft, and to ensure that there's equity, that care for all of our kids. And so our question is, are you in? Is there, even with this being an online conference, I've been able to feel enthusiasm from you in the small group sessions. I've enjoyed learning from you and from our presenters. So if that's something that you enjoy, if you enjoy learning with and from other educators, now's this time in the comments on the YouTube stream to brainstorm with a couple of teammates to ask, could you get together and host a couple of learning get-togethers for peers in your regions? We would help you. But if you're getting that kind of gut sense that's pulling you toward contributing in a bigger way than you ever have and helping your community of learners, we have a deal for you. So we have openings for 4 to 5 chapters. This year, we're trying to expand intentionally and slowly. And we hope that our chapters provide inspiration and peer support. Again, we're a nonprofit. These aren't a money maker for us. They're not a way that we're trying to do anything nefarious. We're just trying to do those things that we agree in our mission. We want to build those communities of support. So don't feel like the chapter idea that we're talking about has to all be the same. We want each chapter to have its own feel depending on the needs of that region or that area. So some may be very lightly organized, some might be more structured and have regular meetings, say every month or something. Others, it may be more occasional. And so you might ask, why are we telling you all of this right now? And so if you are here, you are our kind of leaders. You're the people that we would love to see build community with each other. So we are inviting you to consider leaning into that regional leadership. We're hoping that you could get a couple of teammates together. You need 3 people to form the chapter leadership, and consider hosting just a couple of learning get-togethers throughout the year. You can obviously do more if you wish, but you definitely don't have to. And I know a question that will be on people's minds is, Could those learning get-togethers be virtual or in person? If we have that, they could absolutely be either one. So I know there was a question in the chat about where our chapters currently located, and this afternoon we're going to show you that map. We're actually aligning with CASE's regions, so we're looking at those divisions, but even though there may be a region that's like, say, Northern Front Range or Southern Front Range or what have you, you can have multiple chapters within there if that works best. We just want whatever natural groups could get together in community and inspire each other. So here are the things that we could provide to support you. So if you're thinking about doing this, but you're a little nervous, maybe you've never done something like this before, but you are getting that gut sense and that heart sense that you want to help people stay connected and learning from each other, here are the things that we'll give you if you lean in and say, yep, I think I'm ready to do this. We'll assign you an InnEdCO board member mentor. So you're not doing this by yourself. You'll have somebody within the board right there to help you. We'll have Google accounts for you for the leaders, a Google site where you can organize your materials very easily and advertise. We'll link that from the InnEdCO webpage. We'll take care of all that legal business that you have to have as a nonprofit. We'll supply you with some swag and some goodies to give away. And we have a number of sponsors who are very interested in these types of events, would probably be happy to, buy you appetizers or support your team if you wanted to do something when we're able to be back together again. We'll also share with you people who are in your area. You may feel motivated to lead at the moment, but you don't know everybody around you. Maybe you're newer in your region. We'll help you with that. And part of that membership fee for premium members goes to chapters so that you can host some events. And then we'll also give you Eventbrite support if you want to have registration for this type of thing. So we really have tried to provide all of the architecture for you. We just want you to be able to build the community with each other. So hopefully you've been getting inspired by this and you're ready to go. That QR code should take you right to the application for leadership. Again, we just need 3 people together to form that leadership team, and then we'll help you with the rest. Or if you prefer, you can go to that bit.ly. And again, that's InnEdCO chapter leadership. And remember that bit.lys are case sensitive. So do make sure that you include those capital letters in there. And I'm getting excited. I see some people who are starting to have that chatter on the side. So I can't wait to see what you do this next year. It's going to be phenomenal. And we're just, as an organization, so excited to be able to be here for you and to be able to spread, the wonder and magic of learning with each other throughout the state all year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. I know this is something that we've been working on really hard as an organization to get ready to go. And so I'm really excited to see that people are in the chat very wanting to get together and wanting to do this. And I think that's what's going to be needed to sustain a lot of this work.
And we'll talk about that more this afternoon with people. Questions that you have, we can answer that. We'll also give people an opportunity just to get to know some of the folks that might be in their region.
Yeah, I think what we've seen is that relationships are so important to this work.
Oh my gosh.
So we do have that session this afternoon where you can meet other people that are in your region, get to know each other with some fun questions too. It doesn't all have to be serious, right? We are in InnEdCO. We like to have fun together. So please do join us for those breakouts starting at 10 o'clock today.
Absolutely.
All right. And I guess now I am up for our keynote remarks this morning. So I, again, want to thank you all for being here and just start off with a huge celebration. This is our theme today, to celebrate. This sounds very Legally Blonde, but we did it. We did it. Education was not ready for this. I think a lot of us feel that. And yet we did it. I feel like it was really messy and difficult. And it's really clear there is no going back to the way we used to do things. Despite massive challenges that this pandemic presented, I think this has also been an incredible opportunity for accelerating the changes many of us just have always wanted to see. Like Dr. Martin said, education changed more in the past 3 months than it has in the past 100 years. I don't think it came in the package that anybody wanted or expected, but a revolution has come to education, which I think is something to be celebrated. So I want to take a moment to take us back to what feels like 10,000 years ago. On March 13th, right? That's a date that is really sticking in a lot of people's minds right now. On that day, the TED Radio Hour released its first episode with their new host, Manoush Zomorodi. She's one of my favorite podcasters, for those of you who don't know, and I'm a little bit of a podcast junkie. But she released this episode that was focused on reinvention. So I tell you this because this might have been the best single episode for me to listen to at this exact moment in time. It laid the most important foundation for the mindset that I know personally helped me through this pandemic. The opening segment on this episode, so it highlighted a TED Talk by Tim Harford about how frustration and chaos can lead to creative breakthroughs. Now, I don't know about you, but this sounds like a very familiar situation. And in his talk, he said, I think we need to gain a bit more appreciation for the unexpected advantages of having to cope with a little mess. He goes on to tell the stories of musicians and experiments and problem solvers all getting this massive jumpstart on creativity from the addition of obstacles and challenges, stating that just because you don't like it doesn't mean it isn't helping you. Right? I'll say that again. Just because you don't like it, it doesn't mean it isn't helping you. And I think it's very clear that so many educators internalize that message. And as a result, did some absolutely incredible and creative things, again, worth celebrating. I think we can all agree it has been hard. And the stories of innovation will be shared for generations to come. Like, I have heard so many examples from teachers, and my gut, my hunch says that our kids will be telling the stories of what happened in their classroom to their friends, to their relatives, to their children, to their grandchildren. There will be entire segments of anthropology dedicated to studying this moment and the way that educators stepped up. And I want to share an example of one such story from a teacher who called into our podcast, Julie Estrada.
Hello, I'm Julie Estrada, a theater teacher at Windsor High School in the Welldary 4 School District. My advisory students were a large success in remote learning, as this could have been something that was ignored, shuffled under the rug. Hello, I'm Julie Estrada, a theater teacher at Windsor High School in the Welldary 4 School District. My advisory students were a large success in remote learning, as this could have been something that was ignored, shuffled under the rug, etc. The students really stepped up. They helped each other through our meets, texts, and in many other ways. And the surprising part was that the students helping one another weren't necessarily connected other than our class when we were in person learning. My student teacher and I hosted a scavenger hunt on Google Meet with prizes that we socially distanced delivered to their homes with a sidewalk chalk message. The students loved this, and we personalized the prizes as well. When we were done before finals week with our advisory check-ins, and I reminded students that we were done, they asked if we could meet again the following week, and I was surprised by this. We were deep in quarantine still, and we're not sure when restrictions would be lightened or when they were, if we should. And of course, I couldn't tell these students no, so we met again as more of a social time on finals week. They asked again if we could do it the next week when our official summer started, and I let them know, you have the tools now. You can start meeting and be leaders. I'm hoping they've done that. I'm not sure. And then to keep some of the normalcy to the end of the year, we hosted the annual Windsor High School Theater Awards ceremony with around 50 participants on Google Meet. We celebrated our shows for the year, had students present awards. We did a celebration of our musical, Mamma Mia, that we got to open, but didn't get to do the second and third night. And we didn't get to finish because of the pandemic. And did a senior send-off to celebrate the accomplishments of the class of 2020. Students dressed up. I decorated behind me so the space looked different than my typical Google Meet room. And we used the chat as a place to interact with one another. It was very special. It was different, but special. The relationships that were formed during these times and solidified were huge. I know more about who my students are. They know me in a way they didn't know me before quarantine, and I love seeing them, even if it could only be online through a screen. But it makes me want to grow to get them to know them more and connect with my students, my kids, even more in person and in different, deeper, and more meaningful ways coming school year.
These stories matter so much. I know this week many folks felt such a huge sense of relief knowing they were not alone in their struggles, their celebrations, their experience, their immense creativity, and their hopes for the future. Stories are also what makes us so clearly human. And I think this has, for me, been one of my personal favorite things to come out of this pandemic. I have had countless conversations with teachers and coworkers and fellow board members about how human this has made all of us to each other. We have paused to allow each other grace and taken the time needed to care for each other. Katie shared a lot of pictures of her family, so I felt it was only share and in theme to do so for myself as well. So this is my kiddo Kai. He is 21 months old. He joined me for a lot of my work meetings so far. He knows all the names of my team members, and he enjoys pointing to their pictures and practicing their names as we're going for our meeting. So there was actually one morning he woke up and all he could say was, Lucy, because he was so excited to see my coworkers. And I know that one of my colleagues commented on how much he's enjoyed that, and it's provided this just tiny spark of joy in our workplace. So I really hope that this is one of the things that we decide to hold on to as we find what our new normal is, this unapologetic embrace of our humanity. Here is another voice message that I think really illustrates how this can also show itself in the classroom. This is from Allison Donahue.
My name's Allison. I'm a first grade teacher. This was my third year teaching when the remote learning with the pandemic happened. I have a very dynamic classroom this year, occasional room clears, some outbursts, emotional outbursts from students, trying to remain calm during that process. And then when we get to remote learning, thinking it's probably going to be a little bit easier, we won't have to room clear. However, you do sometimes have to clear a Google Meet when a student gets a little bit out of control. I had to remove a student from one of our calls for being emotional, and it was really just him trying to express himself and how frustrated he was with this process, being away from school, being away from friends. I really felt for him emotionally, but I had to remove him from the class because of the vocabulary he was using. And after I did that and trying to text his mom to just say, I'm going to call you guys as soon as I'm done teaching and we'll check in and I'm not upset. And I was a little tearful because you feel so much for them. Out of my Brady Bunch view of students, a small voice pipes up and says, Mrs. D, I can take over the class. I'll present the announcements and present one of my lessons to the class while you take a minute to gain control of your feelings. That was an expression I often used. I'm like, let's just take a minute to get control of our feelings and let out what we need to let out and regroup. So here was a student being empathetic to my needs, being empathetic to the student, also using some of our language from our classroom, and then taking some leadership and stepping up, and he presented everything beautifully, and it was an amazing day. And I took that moment of being overwhelmed to all of a sudden being so proud and watching all the kids respond politely as he used his leadership skills to take them through their lesson, a part of it that he had planned himself. So while I think remote learning was exhausting at times and overwhelming at times, I saw students grow in ways I never knew that I had never seen before either. So we kind of created an emotionally secure environment for everybody. And then to get feedback from parents who had overheard the outburst and saw the leadership saying, wow, you've taught these kids so much. Nobody was upset about the profanity. Nobody was upset about the outburst. Everybody was just meeting that with compassion. And so I feel like that sense and that moment brought our community together in so many different ways.
I just love hearing all of these stories. I hear from teachers all the time the ways that their students surprised them, or they were doing things that they never thought were possible. Or I especially love kind of the hidden gem stories of this student who, in a traditional in-person classroom, didn't really do well, but thrived under these current conditions. I think those are stories we really need to hear. And I hope that many of you choose to share your stories as well, especially in the coming months and years through our podcast. I like to think of them as these small yet crucial reminders of why the work we do matters, that we can just listen to when we need it. This work is not easy. It's not getting any easier, I think. We're all going to go into this fall knowing it might be one of the biggest challenges that we have ever faced. And also, that's what makes it so important for us to share with each other the things that we're doing. So I would encourage you, if you're kind of on the fence or you're not sure about it, to share your story with us, because I know how much it means to me. I know how much it means to a lot of my colleagues and board members, and I can imagine how much that's going to mean to this community, especially as we move forward. So I will also say, like, this additional obstacle of remote learning has really exposed and widened so many of our gaps as a system. I think it would be irresponsible to not kind of mention this and remind us how important we need to pursue this work. But I would also venture to say this particular pandemic has amplified this call to pursue solutions to these gaps with a sense of urgency and focus that I have not seen before in many of our school districts. And I think while we still have an incredibly long way to go to realizing educational equity, I will say that I am heartened that this conversation is gaining momentum. So far, I think this conversation has focused on access to devices and the internet. I also think it is our responsibility to ensure that our advocacy does not stop there. We must pursue our vision for this learner-centered teaching to reach each and every student. I think engaging in the hard work necessary to fully realize the future we want will require sustained efforts that do not die out once we have passed this crisis. Based upon how exhausting this has already been, I think it is fair to say that we will not only need each other more than ever, but we will need to invite new voices to join us in this work. I know many new folks have already joined us this week for our summer series, and I'm really excited that you were able to join us this week. I hope that this is only the beginning of the time you spend as a part of the InnEdCO community. I would also call us to seek out the resources and relationships we need to include perspectives and voices that have traditionally been left out. The current system of education was designed without the input of all the stakeholders we see represented in our classrooms today. While we look to tear the system down and build it anew, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to examine our new construction closely and ensure that it is designed to meet the needs of those that are currently left out. I don't think 2020 has exactly been what any of us have expected, but my favorite thing to say is that we have embarked on the greatest adventure to ever face the field of education. As we reflect on the year, learn from our experiences, and grow into the educators we always wanted to be, I'd like to call on us to remember to share and celebrate our learning and successes with others along the way, knowing that as much as we will have celebrations, I think there is also value in celebrating any mistakes or learnings that we make along the way. I think a lot of us have seen this week this modeling of failing forward, of trying new things, even though they might be scary, even though they might be risky. I think that has been really powerful, that we have been sharing those experiences with each other. And I hope that is kind of also a trend that continues through 2020 as we look on to this next school year. I am so proud to be a part of this community, and I hope that we are able to provide each other with continued inspiration and motivation to pursue further innovation through this crisis and beyond. Thank you all so much for being the heart of this organization. Together, we are InnEdCO.
Wow, Madia, that was awesome. Thank you so much for inspiring us like you always do. I'm Sheila Bowman, and I'm the incoming president of the InnEdCO Board of Directors. I'm heading into my 5th year on the board, and as of Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock, I am also now the new principal of the Welldary Forest School District's first K-12 online school. It has just been an incredibly amazing and exciting week, to say the least. I just want to take a few moments and just say thank you to a lot of people. I am so proud of the team that worked so hard to put this conference together. I just don't even have the words to thank them for truly epitomizing the definition of shared leadership. This board is absolutely amazing, and it is an honor to serve with my heroes and friends to continue this journey that we're on in making the InnEdCO community a diverse space for doing just what this summer series conference has done, and that's celebrating and empowering educators. And speaking of two amazing educators, this is bittersweet and so sad for us, but we are needing to say goodbye to two of our board members who are off to do amazing things in the world of education. I just want to personally, and I know this comes from the entire board, say thank you to Nanette McMurtry and Kayla Swanton. Nanette comes from the St. Vrain School District, and she is going to be working hard, getting her master's degree, and moving forward in some really great projects at St. Vrain. And so she is going to step down from the board. And I just want to thank you, Nanette, for your vision, your generosity, and your brilliant eye for that professional feel. You make us look so good on our website and on our slides and in all of our communications. Nanette, you are amazing, and plus you're just such a vital part to our board, and you will be truly missed. So just want you to know we love you. And also Kayla, who has been with us. She serves in the Adams 12 School District and also has some big tasks ahead and exciting opportunities. And Kayla, you have such wisdom, your thoughtful design, and you just really bring sense making to our organization. We are really going to miss your impact, but we want you also to know that we are in your court. We love you, and we appreciate your service on the board. So best of luck to both of you. Let's talk about this amazing week. It's been an amazing time together, reflecting this crazy spring of remote learning. We've experienced new learning with our Colorado colleagues, and we've grown in our thinking and practice as educators. And today, we're focused on celebrating where we've been, where we currently are, and the amazing places that we're heading as a community of learners. Maddie, I just want to thank you again for inspiring us to find and hold on to that good. Those are really things that are worth celebrating. And let's not forget to reflect on the positive. What great stories we heard from our InnEdCO community. Thanks for sharing, and keep those coming. Keep those coming. We want to continue telling the stories. We're celebrating. So maybe the biggest thank you of the week goes out to you, our awesome InnEdCO community, for taking time every morning to log in with a growth mindset, to listen for new ideas and really wrestle with how you're going to take those back to your students and make their experiences of learning more profound and more authentic and more creative, and helping them find their voices along the way. You are the reason we celebrate today. You are our InnEdCO family. And like all fun families do, it's time to start planning for our next adventure together. Of course, with the uncertain times we're in, we obviously cannot make any solid announcement about what exactly our 2021 conference will look like. However, we can tell you that we are all crossing our fingers and hoping for the best because, well, for those of you who are paying close attention in the chat yesterday during the keynote, you probably caught that I very accidentally spilled the beans on where next year's conference is going to be. But for the rest of you, here we go. Drum roll. We hope to meet in person in full conference mode at the Beaver Run Resort and Conference Center in beautiful Breckenridge, Colorado. Can I get some cheering? Yay. Little change, we are meeting, so you need to save the date and put this on your calendar. We've traditionally met Monday through Thursday. We're changing that up too, and we're going to try meeting Sunday, June 13th through Wednesday, June 16th. So put it on your calendar. Friends, we are going to have a lot of socializing and presenting and learning to make up for in 2021. And then finally, to close out our conference, we want to have one more opportunity to make some very special connections by having some fun with others in our geographical Colorado regions. We hope the connections that you make in the next hour will inspire you to stay in touch and share resources, and maybe even someday soon connect at a face-to-face chapter meeting. That is something that we will never take for granted again. But the opportunity to make those connections is now. So go ahead, and what we need you to do is jump into your regional hangout. And we've got those here on the screen. We also have them on the website, so you can just go back to the InnEdCO website, look under Thursday, and click on the region that you're in. We want to just conclude this conference by having some fun and connecting with our fellow educators that are near to us in geographical regions. So we're hoping to see you soon. Hopefully it's in person, but until then, thank you so much for attending and enjoy your summer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sheila. I know we're going to give folks a few minutes to get over to their chapter breakout rooms, but I think if you're eager to get some of that conversation started as board members start opening up those links before we do some of the fun question pieces, I think it would be totally fair to have folks just kind of hang out in a few minutes to see what's going on, but we'll probably get some of the more interactive pieces started closer to 10 for those of you that are going to need a body break, because I know that's definitely been the case with a lot of the online meetings and conferences that I've attended.
For sure. Okay.